We're now ready for question number 5. Lydia volunteers with an organization that helps older citizens take care of their yards. 75% of the volunteers in the organization are 20 to 30 years old. Of the remaining portion, 75% are over 30 and 25% are under 20. If there are 15 people under 20, how many people are in the organization? So going back to the beginning, we were first told that 75% of the volunteers in the organization are 20 to 30 years old. So I'm going to take my 75% and express it as a fraction, 75 over 100. If I divide numerator and denominator by 25, I can simplify to 3/4. So I'm going to divide my model into 4 equal parts. And I'm going to take 100%, which represents my entire model, divided by 4, which means that each of our sections will represent 25%. Now we're told that 75% of the volunteers in the organization are 20 to 30 years old. So 75% would be 3 of these boxes. And so those volunteers are 20 to 30 years old. Next, of the remaining portion, 75% are over 30 and 25% are under 20. So if I take this remaining portion and I divide it into 4 equal parts, I know that 75%, or 3 of the 4, are volunteers that are over 30 years old, and 25%, that remaining portion, are under 20. If there are 15 people under 20, how many people are in the organization? So I can see that if 1/4 of that last section represents 15 people, then each of those fourths in that last section also represent 15 people. So looking at my model as a whole, I can see that 15 times 4, or 60, represents 25%. So I can now fill in 60 volunteers for each of my 25% boxes. And we're asked how many people are in the organization overall. Well, I have 4 boxes essentially of 60. So 4 times 60 is 240. So there are 240 people in the organization. Okay, moving on to number 6. There are 360 7th grade students at Eisenhower Middle School. 1/4 of the students went to Claremont Elementary. Of the rest, half went to Central Elementary, and the others came from a variety of other elementary schools. How many students came from Central Elementary? So I'm told that 1/4 of the students went to Claremont. So I'm going to start my model by dividing it into fourths. First of all, there are 360 students at Eisenhower Middle School, so 360 will be our whole number. If I divide that amongst the 4 boxes evenly, 360 divided by 4 is 90. So we'll have 90 students per section. Now, back to what we were saying, 1/4 of the students went to Claremont Elementary. So one of the 4 boxes, we'll label the first one, represent the students that came from Claremont Elementary School. Of the rest, so these 3 boxes, 90 times 3, or 270, Of the rest of these students, half went to Central Elementary, and the others came from a variety of other elementary schools. Now I could work off of my current model, or I'm going to make a new model that just represents those remaining students that did not go to Claremont Elementary. So it says, of the rest, half went to Central. So I'm going to divide my new model into two parts so I can show that this half went to Central Elementary School and the others came from a variety of other elementary schools. Now remember, this second model represents the students that did not go to Claremont Elementary School. So that would be these 90, 90, and 90, or 270 students. So if I divide the 270 remaining students into the two boxes, I have 135 students that went to Central Elementary School and 135 students that came from a variety of other elementary schools. The question is now how many students came from Central Elementary, and I can see from my second model that that's 135. So 135 students came from Central Elementary. And now we turn to the last page, 34. A snowboard at a local shop normally costs $450. Over Labor Day weekend, the snowboard is on sale for 50% off. Customers who make their purchase before 8 a.m. earn an additional 10% off of the sale price. If Mia buys the snowboard before 8 a.m., how much will she pay? So the first thing we want to look at is the snowboard being on sale for 50% off. So if I take my 50% and write it in fraction form, 50 out of 100, that's obviously 1/2. So half off, but I'm going to model that with a bar like we were asked to do. So if my denominator is 2, I will split my model into two equal parts. And 100% divided by 2, of course, is 50. So 50% for each section. The snowboard originally costs $450. And if I divide that cost by 2, I'm going to place $225 in each of the two sections. Now it says that over Labor Day weekend, the snowboard is on sale for 50% off. So I'm going to cross off one of the 50% boxes. Recording videos is not a perfect science. The phone is ringing. We're going to ignore it. So I've crossed off one of the 50% boxes, and I can see that with the 50% off sale, the snowboard is $225. Now it says if Mia makes her purchase before 8 a.m., she can earn an additional 10% off of the sale price. So I'm going to take that 10% and I'm going to write that in fraction form. And that simplifies to 1/10 when I divide my numerator and denominator by 10. So I'm going to make a new model and I'm going to divide it into 10 equal parts. Now if I have 100% divided into 10 equal parts, each of these sections will represent 10%. Now remember, at this point, the snowboard is on sale and costs $225. So I'm taking the sale price of $225 and I'm dividing that into 10 equal parts. 225 divided by 10 would be $22.50. So I'm placing $22.50 into each of these boxes. It was so much nicer when our models were divided into 4 parts or 5 parts or even 2. Anyway, $22.50 per box, and Mia is going to save an additional 10%. So I'm going to remove one of those 10% boxes, and I can see now that the snowboard will be $22.50 times 9. Or I can remove the $22.50 from this $225. Either way I look at it, I'm going to get the final cost of the snowboard. So I might say $22.50 times 9 boxes, which is what we have remaining. So if I do my multiplication, 9 times 0, 9 times 5, 9 times 2, 18 and 4 is 22, and 9 times 2 is 18, and the 2 we carried is 20. So $202.50. So we'll say that Mia will pay $202.50 for the snowboard. And that reflects the 50% off for the Labor Day sale and the additional 10% off because she purchased it before 8 a.m. All right, on to number 8, our last problem. A local business is taking out a loan. They found that they spent 1/3 of their money on payroll. 1/2 of the remaining amount went back to the business to purchase inventory and pay for the facility, and 1/3 of the money that was left after that went to paying off their original loan. If they have $100,000 left of the loan, what was the original amount of the loan? So I'm going to begin with this 1/3. So I'm going to divide the bar into 3 equal parts. And it says that 1/3 of the money was spent on payroll. So this 1/3 went to payroll. Half of the remaining amount, so if I look at the remaining amount, I have 2 boxes. So half of that would be one of them. So half of the remaining amount would be one of those boxes, and that went for inventory and facility. And last, 1/3 of the money that was left, so now we're looking at this box here and needing to divide that into 3 equal parts. So we can show that 1/3 of the money that was left after that went to paying off the original loan. So pay original loan. Hopefully you can read my chicken scratch. If they have $100,000 left of the loan, what was the original amount? So here is the money that is left, and we're told that that is $100,000. So if I split that between the 2 boxes, that would be $50,000. And of course, this would be $50,000. And what I'm noticing is that 1/3 of my original adds up to $150,000. So I know that this is $150,000, and I know that this is $150,000 as well. And now I can see if I add up all of them, I have a total of $450,000 for the entire model, which was the original amount of the loan. So we can answer the question, the original amount of the loan was $450,000. I can check my work by thinking 1/3 of it, or $150,000, went to payroll. That would leave them with $300,000. Half of that, so another $150,000, went back into the business to purchase inventory and pay for the facility. So that leaves them with $150,000. 1/3 of that went to paying off the loan, which would be $50,000, leaving them with $100,000 left. So it all checks out. Okay,